Styluses have to have some form of connective element that changes your body's electricity into a stylus and down onto the device. So this one here, you can see, has got a metal cylinder inside it, and that's usually covered with a nib. Some styluses have the silicon nib on the top, and they're made of metal. You can get some styluses that are completely one piece. I prefer those ones, but we'll talk about that later. You also get specific disability ones. This one here is called a T-bar. This one here's got a connective thread around the outside. When I put it between my knuckles, it doesn't require me to have the pinch reflexes if I can't do that. And I can still write on the iPad. It's quite a nifty little tool. Let's have a look at the specifics of styluses. This is a Cush stylus. It's a large, almost like a whiteboard marker. It's got a very large silicon tip on it that I can write fairly accurately with. This is a glow grip. A glow grip has the triangular sort of preschool pencil grip, a silicon tip. Now this is a brother to the one I just showed you. The one I showed you, the silicon tip had actually torn. And what happens when the silicon tip tears is it exposes that metal inside it, which can be a drama. The problem with all styluses with a silicon tip is that very thing. You can see there how it's torn, and it's now exposing that metal rod inside. So I can write beautifully with this, but if I start pushing too hard, that tip starts to drag a bit. You can see it dragging along. Now, depending on the child, that could become an issue. It becomes really hard to write if the tip's dragging behind, because it's hard enough if you're trying to learn how to write, but if you're having to sit there and look behind your hand to see if the letter's writing, that's when a stylus can become pretty useless. I don't like, it depends again on the child. This is a fully metal stylus with a rubber tip. This is about $5. It looks like a little old-fashioned pencil. It's an all-metal stylus again, but instead of a rubber tip, it's got the same nylon fabric that the T-bar had on it. But I still find it is a little bit laggy when you write, but it doesn't have the drop-off that the rubber tip seems to have. But again, it's all metal, so that presents a drama to our devices. Again, depending on the children. Now you have all sorts of different combos. Most of them have this rubber silicon tip on them. So this is a rather expensive one. There it is. So it's a ballpoint pen on one end, a stylus on the other end. It's an all metal body casing. Is a smaller one, all metal body casing again. Silicon ball on it. And that one's already starting to lag as well. Okay, so you can see the lag there. That's not going to last too long. And this is the fairly sharp casing on the outside of it. So I can see that when that ball falls over, like that, that's going to quickly tear. What this one does do, but it comes with this handy little 30 pin, or you can get the 9 pin to lock it into the iPad so that it won't go anywhere, so you can't lose it. This is a cheap one we got the other day. Again, it's all metal. It looks pretty much the same as the other one. It's got that sharp beveling on the outside. I haven't even used this one yet. You can already see the movement in the ball there. So if I write, it's fairly accurate, but the accuracy drops off the more you use it, because that starts to fade away. This one here, we got it at one of those $2 shops. It had this little gimmicky light on the end of it, which is now flat. It's also a ballpoint pen inside. Okay, but on the pen lid cover, it's got a stylus nib on it. Now I can already feel, you can feel the inside of that stylus nib already, and it's a really soft sort of silicon, that one, and it's really sticky. Like, it's quite difficult to write with that one actually because it's so soft. Now, for specific writing, I like to use this one. This is called the Jot Pro. It's basically a ballpoint pen. It's got a protective plastic disc on top which protects the ballpoint from scratching into the screen. If you've got kids taking very fine notes or learning how to write very fine letters, this is the one. It comes with a cap you can screw over the top to protect the plastic disc. It is a metal pen. It does have a rubber sort of silicone mount here. The lid can unscrew, screws on the top, so you don't lose it. I do like the Jot Pro. It slides across the screen very easily. Very quickly I can take notes. It's more a natural pen. If I was writing on paper with a pen, it gives me the same feeling on the screen. So again, everything depends on your students. Now this one here is one we picked up at a cheap shop. It's actually a wristband. It's got a stylus on the end of it, so it can be held and used as a stylus. So you place your finger on the metal bit there and you can write away. It's fairly slippery, so it moves across the screen quite easily. We use this for our ASD kids to show them when it's time to use the iPad. So they finish their work, they bring it up to the teacher checks it. Then what we can do is give them this band. So the teacher can see it on the student's wrist, they know that they're allowed to be on the device. There's always those kids that want to grab the device and just run off and hide in the corner. That's what this is perfect for. So it's an indicator for the kids, it's also a good reminder to the teacher. So a handy little stylus you can do. Again, everything, it depends on what your students are using it for. I would suggest that, in a prep classroom where the children could press hard down on the stylus and maybe damage the nib, this is the really good one. It's all one piece. So it's a one-piece rubber unit. There's no metal. The metal is actually deep inside it and there's no way to get to that metal. It's all covered up. I've been trying to break this one for a while and it just won't break. If I'm working with senior kids that are looking at writing, then I would definitely go the Jot Pro. That would be my favourite. It depends on what you're doing. It depends on your students. And it depends on how much you want to spend. These here range everywhere from $2 right up to $50. Okay? Don't spend too much on a stylus, and the only way to know, go into the shop with your iPad and write on the screen. If it writes really slowly like that, and basically moves your device when you're trying to write, not the best one. You're looking for one that's going to slide across the screen very simply and not be a hindrance to the students.